Right now, all over the earth, worship is exploding in a global level. And I want to talk to you right now about the power of our worship, because our worship can literally transform cities, regions, and nations. The amazing thing about King David is he had a tabernacle for 33 years, day and night, night and day. The worship never stopped. And a lot of times people think that the tabernacle of David was just about keeping the worship in a room, but it wasn't, because David wasn't just a musician. David was an inventor. He was a politician. He was a father. He was a businessman. He was all of these things that touched the spheres of society. So as we begin to put the tent pegs up of worship all over the earth, we are going to see worship that is presence driven, that leads unto societal transformation. In fact, right now we are seeing testimonies of worship breakthroughs in the nations. Recently, just a couple of testimonies. Recently, I was just in the nation of Belgium. We were getting ready to lead worship, and the football game was on the screen. And Ireland and Belgium were getting ready to battle it out at the football game. And as we begin to worship, I felt the Lord drop a spirit of prophecy in the room, and we felt to declare against the spirit of terrorism that has been tormenting the nation. And at first I was like, oh, it's kind of a big thing to go after. Do we just go after it? And I just felt such a peace from the Holy Spirit to declare the word of the Lord against the spirit of terrorism. So worship began to erupt, and we began to declare through prophetic worship that God was exposing everything that was in the dark. He was bringing it to the light, and that the back of terrorism was breaking in the nation. And as we worship together, we begin to feel a breakthrough happen in the atmosphere, and we felt something unlock, and we worshiped, and it was an amazing night. Well, the next morning, I received a text message from the man that was putting on the event, and he said, "You'll never believe this." He texted me a text message, New York Times, front page of the newspaper. It said, last night about 7 o'clock Belgium time, which was the exact hour that we were worshiping and declaring against the spirit of terrorism. It said, last night about this time, the Belgian government had shut down dozens of different terrorist groups that were trying to release a terrorist attack onto the football stadium. And friends, it has nothing to do with me being special or not. It has everything to do with our obedience to see worship shake the nations. Friends, this can be for you. This can be for anybody that has a yes to see this happen. One more amazing testimony. Recently, we were lighting up 50 hours of nonstop worship in the nations. And there was a believing judge who heard about what we were doing. He goes, 50 hours of nonstop worship? This is crazy. I have 20 drug addicts that I need to send somewhere to get rehabbed. I wonder where I should send. Maybe I'll send them to this 50-hour nonstop worship gathering. So he does. The judge sentences these 20 drug addicts to come get rehabbed in the presence. They couldn't leave. It was against the law. They ate there. They slept there. And you should have seen their faces. 5 hours into the presence, 15 hours into the presence, 20 hours in, something began to change. It was presence-driven evangelism, presence-driven deliverance. It was presence-driven salvation. This is what we're going to see when that Davidic spirit is released into the earth again. We are going to see the presence of God lead unto these things. So about 45 hours in, all of the 20 guys and gals who had just been addicted to drugs 2 days earlier were losing their mind, just wild, radical, abandoned worship in the front, dancing, shouting, screaming. The deliverance of God, the salvation of God was all over them. And after the meeting had ended, one of the guys came up to me with tears in his eyes saying, "I didn't know that you could change this much this quick." In just a short 50 hours of worship, 20 drug addicts became 20 Jesus addicts. I'd recently saw the man that was the chaperone who brought them to the meeting. I said, "Hey, how are those guys? Are any of them still going for it? Are any of them still plugged in? He said 100% of them are still on fire for Jesus. They're still plugged into local churches. They are still radical for God. Friends, I'm telling you, there is no safe place from the presence of the Lord anymore, and worship is going to be a massive part of this in the earth, in the end days, in the nations, coming into the glory and the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters fill the seas. So I want to encourage you, all it takes is a yes. Light up the worship fires, light up the worship. It doesn't have to be 50 hours. Just begin to say yes. Just begin to gather and worship in your room, and watch God unlock the nations as we simply bring heaven and earth together.